the swag business. So the candidates or affiliates that are looking to get, I guess, a specialty of these linemen, you can get you a 40% discount. So if you have any things, any pens or lapel, button stickers, she doesn't do yard signs, but all the other stuff. If you are interested, contact Ralph and he can help you out. The first order on the agenda is to do stump speeches, and we're going to start with the presidential candidates that we couldn't do yesterday.
Oh man, I hate it already. It's 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Good evening, Libertarian Party of North Carolina. I'm sorry I cannot be there in person, but I hope that you will accept this poor substitute in the spirit in which I give it. When the founders of this country, all brave people and brilliant people, created our Constitution, they had in mind a government which served. What has become of our government is a government seeking power. And we have become the servants. Our government tells us what is right or what is wrong with what we may do with our bodies and our minds. It creates laws telling us that we can or cannot take certain substances, act in certain ways, believe certain things. And this is a tragedy. We cannot ever criminalize personal freedom. Every attempt throughout history has failed because people will do what people do. The criminalization of prostitution has not reduced prostitution. The criminalization of drugs, our war on drugs, has not reduced the consumption of illegal drugs. Prohibition did not reduce the consumption of alcohol. It merely created suffering throughout society and gave rise to organized crime. Our current war on drugs has created the most brutal and vicious drug cartel the world has ever seen. It has killed, maimed, brutalized, and tortured millions of people and has cost our government trillions of dollars. Is this what we intended? I don't think so. Is this good? I don't think so. Our government has gone insane for all practical purposes. It tells us we are protecting us. We are being protected. And yet I don't feel protected. I feel like I'm in jail, which I have no small experience with. Our Second Amendment rights have been eroded to an incredible degree. Now, unlike many of the Libertarian candidates who talk up the Second Amendment, I actually live it. I was in Texas debating one of the Libertarian candidates, and I shuddered to hear them say they would lobby for having as many bullets as we liked within the chamber at the same time. I wanted to say until the laws of physics change, I believe we can only have one. And this is the tragedy that we have, people talking about things they know nothing about. I assure you, if anybody knows anything about me, I am one of the strongest gun advocates in America. I am also an advocate for getting rid of the war on drugs and taking the non-violent people who are in prison, which is half of the population, and returning them to productive citizens. We have to stop all of this madness, all of this madness. We've lost everything in this country of value. Privacies, freedoms, the government designed to serve has now become our mother and father and our boss. This was not the intent, surely. It can't be the intent. It was designed to serve us. It has evolved into a system where we must serve it. Illegal taxations, control of our freedoms, guns, free speech, and property rights. This must stop. I intend to do this. I intend to stop the madness. But first, I need your support. We need the support of the delegates. And after the nomination, we need the party to walk in lockstep all the way to November, where I intend absolutely to win. Thank you very much.
evening. This is Heidi Zimmer. I just have a quick couple thoughts for our libertarians who are wondering how we're going to debate the Republicans and the Democrats. And this is also for the Republicans and the Democrats. The front runner for the Republicans right now is Donald Trump. And you know, Donald Trump has been donating to politicians for years. So what good has all this money that he's been donating to the politicians done? Who is profiting from the money that he's given? It's certainly not the middle class, and it's certainly not the poor people. So his money is not been going to a good cause. And also Donald Trump is very nice about building luxury buildings, but what about all the poor people in this America? Wouldn't it be nice if we had a construction expert who cared about the poor and the homeless and was preparing homes for them? And with Hillary Clinton, you know, she went over to New York to become a senator, and I'm not sure what she did while she was a senator there, but as of now, 1 in 5 people in New York City has to reach out to the welfare system to get food donations. 1 in 5 people in New York City can't afford to feed themselves. So that's the state that Hillary Clinton was a senator in. I guess that's her home state now. So she can accept however many donations she's accepting now to go around the country and dress in her nice clothes and give her nice speeches. But what has she done for her state? So libertarians, there's a whole new plan, which is what we need for our country today. And part of that has to do with, instead of taxing people, again, Hillary Clinton recently said, oh, well, I'm going to give $10,000 so you can you can put a down payment on your home. Well, how about stop overtaxing all the corporations in this country so that they can start paying people a decent wage? And then people don't need you to give their handout that you take from somebody else to give to somebody because you haven't provided an opportunity for them.
It's the end.
That's it.
That's weird.
All right. She has about to know that.
Hello, I'm Joey Berry, Libertarian candidate for president. I'm a recent addition to the Libertarian Party, but a lifelong supporter of individual rights. As a young man, I appealed speeding tickets to Superior Court, learning that due process could be gutted and prosecutors couldn't be trusted with power. I've always defended my personal liberties and attempted to expand and defend the rights of others. I've personally appealed 2 issues all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. My educational background is in political science and computer science. My personal background includes healthcare, programming, political analysis, and attempts to correct entrenched injustice. My professional background includes clerical, warehouse, shipping, office management, business, retail management, and industrial contracting. After 9/11, I was skeptical of the international approach to terrorism. In 2002, 6 months after the terrorist attacks, I began to write a political analysis of the war on terror, which I completed and published in 2003. From my perspective, wanting the job of president is insane. I don't want the job, but I am willing to serve. I am a natural law libertarian with a natural law appointment to correct the judiciary, and I would prefer to do so from a position with authority to check the abuses of government. From a libertarian point of view, the president must be a steward of individual liberty and a servant of the people. It would be hypocritical for a libertarian president to force even the highest libertarian ideals on citizens in spite of their democratic will. This paradox of political power makes libertarians ideal for executive positions. Ultimately, as a libertarian president, I could compromise or negotiate practically anything except erosion of liberty. My platform is simple: reform of existing government and expansion of individual rights. Thank you.
That's it, right? Yep. Okay, now we're gonna hear. Now we're gonna hear from the candidates who really matter, the ones that will be running here in North Carolina. I'm gonna start with John Howe, running for the United States Senate.
Howdy, thank you. I'm going to cheat, and instead of delivering a stump speech right now, I wanted to show you my 2 videos that are up for the new campaign. Y'all have probably seen my opening statement, which came out on Wednesday, which lays out really all of the basic themes that I'm going to be talking about throughout the campaign. And it really, I think, is a good substitute for my stump speech. Of course, I'll put in or take out parts depending on the audience. And we'll see how the idea of an administrator and a representative fly too. I'm kind of interested to see if that part gains resonance with people or not. But go ahead. This is my opening statement for my 2016 campaign. Howdy, I'm Sean Howe, running as a Libertarian for U.S. Senate in North Carolina in 2016 now. I mean, 2 years later, things have only gotten worse. War and violence have spread unchecked. America and its proxies are at war in so many places now, it's hard to keep up with them all. Here at home, more people are picking up a gun to try to solve their political or social issues. Meanwhile, government continues to spend recklessly and put us deeper and deeper in debt. All government currently takes up about 38% of the entire gross domestic product. The federal government alone accounts for about 22.5%. Imagine how more prosperous we would be if the federal government wasn't gobbling up almost a quarter of our wealth. We need a voice for those of us who want peace and prosperity, not perpetual war and endless debt. We need regular working people to rise up and take back our government from the political class. And hey, I'm still available. Now, I wouldn't do this unless I was absolutely certain I would do a great job as your senator. Not only will I constantly work for your freedom and prosperity on all the issues, I know there are other parts of the job description too. North Carolinians need a representative in Washington devoted to giving you a voice and helping you with any issue you may have with the government. We need an administrator who will always be vigilant in keeping government bureaucracy from growing out of control. Right now, government is trying to run every single aspect of our lives. I want government to do very few things and to do those things very well. I want everyone to be free to live their lives as they see fit, according to their own values. I believe there's enough wealth on this planet for everyone to live well, and I want everyone to be free to earn their share. Just don't hit people or take their stuff, and the world could become a really neat place for everyone. I'm not here to tell anyone how to run their own lives. I just want to stop all war and stop spending more money than we have so you can be free to live the best life you can make for you and yours. I'm Sean Howe, and I am the best choice to be your next United States Senator. So I have Rachel and I got back into the studio. Is this on?
You have to be really close to it.
You got it like.
Oh, I see. I have to be on top of it.
Kiss it, yeah.
Siblings. So we shot, I was a little bit worried that we might be a little rusty since we hadn't worked together on these for 17 months. And no, we picked right up and made 6 videos this last Sunday in 90 minutes. I've got 4 other scripts now ready to go. I'm going to get to the studio again with her soon. So I'm going to try to get these out as quickly as I can. Of course, she's got a life, so probably at about 2 a week, she should be able to produce them and we should be able to get out. So I just last night when I got home, got the new one that I'm very excited about. And I'm kind of glad to release it on Sunday morning so that only secular people get to see it first and they can see the reaction to it. But this is my new video just published at 8 o'clock this morning on gender identity. Howdy, I'm Sean Howe, running as a Libertarian for U.S. Senate in North Carolina in 2016. You own yourself. You get to choose how to define yourself. These are among the most basic principles of freedom. How you express your gender and sexual preferences is totally up to you, no matter what anybody else tries to tell you. When politicians attempt to define this for you, they are saying you don't own your own body. They are saying your body exists to serve the interests of the state. There's a word for those who think your gender identity is a matter for legislation: totalitarian. How you define your gender harms no one in any conceivable way. Gender identity is one area where government has no justifiable role whatsoever. It's fortunate that people fear those who they don't understand. But here's the thing: you don't have to understand other people's choices in order to understand that people have every right to make those choices. The whole point of America is that when you come live here, you are free to follow your own conscience. Politicians who try to dictate matters of conscience to us are fighting against the most sacred values held by our founders. Now, personally, I admire transgender people. It takes a lot of courage to insist upon being yourself, no matter what the rest of the world says. But my opinion really doesn't quite matter here. What matters is that I understand I have no right to tell anyone how to define their own body. Nothing good ever comes from government trying to define our bodies for us. I'm Sean Hall. And hey, you be you. That's America. My thumbnail description of this one is I think transgender people wrap them up in the flag and say, if you don't like it, then you hate America. But one thing I like about this video is that it's an incredibly strident libertarian argument without appearing strident. You actually have to look at the words and realize that I'm making, the really core self-ownership argument here. And I really enjoy trying to translate all the stuff that we've been talking about into stuff that people are going to look at and say, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's what I've always believed. So I hope you enjoy the other videos. And I would be remiss if I did not ask you for money. I do want to spend significantly more than the $13,400 that I raised last time to be able to, and what I want to use that money for is to develop, get out the vote, get a door-to-door campaign. I want to be able to make use of volunteers. I know that I'm going to get a lot of people who are going to want to rise up and try to help me out. I didn't do a good job of that last time because I didn't quite expect it. I wasn't prepared for it. I'm a little bit more prepared for it this time. And I want to be able to have resources to help people talk to their friends, talk to their neighbors, talk up me, talk up libertarian ideas. So you can visit my website, seanhaw.com. You can make checks out to Haw for Senate. That's the new campaign name. I'm trying to go legit this time. So I had my fun with that. I got to live that dream. I'm happy to have done so. I should probably make way for our next candidates. Thanks so much.
I like the t-shirt.
Oh, I love rocking the Penguin. I gotta tell you, I got my 3 or 4 different Penguin shirts this time.
All right, Brad, turn the lights back up.
There you go.
That's it. We don't need it. Okay, and now we'll hear from our candidate for North Carolina, Lon Cecil. Good morning. Thank you for spending some time and inviting me today. My name is Lon Cecil. And
Be really close to that mic.
Boy, really on it.
Yeah.
All right.
The closer you get, the deeper your voice drops.
Oh, that helps.
Yeah.
Well, I have trouble with deep voice on it anyway. My name is Lon Cecil. Live in High Point, North Carolina, and I'm running for the governor of North Carolina in 2016. I spent 2 years in the Army and got a year of vacation experience in Vietnam many years ago. And I learned to really appreciate the futility of the undeclared wars. Our undeclared war in Vietnam, our undeclared war throughout the Middle East, our undeclared war on drugs, our undeclared war on taxpayers, our undeclared war on education, you name it, our government is at war with it. And usually with no solution, no resolution, and no progress. In North Carolina, I think we've got three things that we need to really pay attention to. The three E's: environmental quality, education, and economic growth. Environmental quality for many people is a matter in North Carolina of get rid of EPA. They hate EPA, they hate the provisions that it has provided to us. And it's going to take local control here in the state to control what we want. For example, long-term fracking, that has actually been a safe process since 1950 in many states, and provided a lot of energy for people. Trouble is, once they frack the well, they've got the gas and the oil out of it, people want to do something with it, and so the companies decide to use it as a disposal well, and they pump stuff back down in it that will then act as a lubricant, and as they found out in Oklahoma, causes earthquakes. So if we're going to frack here, we need to be sure that the wells are registered before they're fracked, make sure that things are controlled, and that we don't use them as disposal wells in the long term. For education, I think we need parental control and selection first. That comes into vouchers. There's been a proposal referred to as backpack, where the money is actually allocated to the student to be spent at whatever school or educational unit they want. The vocational schools are essential. Not everyone needs to go to our brick and mortar public school that's supposed to teach you to not count on your fingers, but to write on the papers using the numbers that we've been using for several thousand years. Education prepares one for self-reliance. It is the way to keep from having to depend on the government and others for everything in your life. I also want to help North Carolina with economic growth. In my opinion, government jobs are not productivity growth. They cost us money, they cost the taxpayers to support them. We need things that people produce, products and services, lower the business taxes, personal taxes, and encourage new industries. We have a lot of people in North Carolina that are very good workers that simply don't have a job that they can go to. And many are quite willing to retrain. I think medical marijuana should be adopted in North Carolina quickly. We have the experience from growing tobacco. We have the experience from all the production equipment for processing it. We try to get hemp growers here in North Carolina. At the current point, the bureaucracy is dragging their feet, and it's going to be 2018 or later. But the same things that we need for growing and regulating tobacco would meet very well with doing the medical marijuana. It, of course, should have been done for the hemp growers, but apparently other things got in place for the bureaucracy. Again, my name is Lon Cecil. I'm running for governor in 2016. I appreciate your vote. I also appreciate your consideration of my website and donations to the campaign, because we need money to be able to get the word out to people. Thank you. Yes, my website is simply electcecil.org. And there is a Facebook, but half the people can't find it yet, so we're working on that one. We have links to all the candidates in their website, Facebook, Twitter accounts at opnc.org. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, ask Lon. You had a question for me, Pam, that I think should be answered publicly. You ask, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering what the.
I think I'm just going to move it as far up as I can towards the podium. I think this is This is pretty good.
So what you're saying, Lon, is that people can walk up to you right now and hand you a spot of cash for your campaign.
That's right.
Okay?
As long as they give me their name and address. Pass the jar.
I believe pass the hat is specifically illegal.
Yes.
Like a jar, it didn't say jar. It said a hat.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
true,
we need
but I
to move
believe they're saying
on.
that for
We need to move on. We got now. Okay. Our next candidate, I'd like to bring up is Nick Hay. He's running for NC Senate 44. And he's getting some very interesting news coverage in his local area.
I normally talk loud. I was a Marine for 10 years, so you guys should be able to hear me in the back if I'm not too close to the microphone. So my background, I'm originally from Oregon, a city just south of Portland called Salem. It's the state's capital. I moved to North Carolina after I joined the Marine Corps, got stationed at Camp Lejeune. I actually fought it all the way. I was trying to get stationed in California, but it turned out to be fantastic because I met my wife in Wilmington, and then she refused to ever leave the state, so that's why I'm still here now. So I came to the party actually kind of in a different way than most people. I found it through Lon Cecil. He was a news anchor in Portland, Oregon when I was growing up, and I remember my grandparents watching him constantly, and then his focus on markets being the main driving force behind the Libertarian Party is kind of the message I adopted. So most of the things I care about are the economic aspects of liberty, how you vote with your dollar and how your dollar is an extension of your opinions. So I had originally chose to run here because it was a Republican who had ran unopposed in the last 2 cycles, and almost everyone universally hated him. He was in the news. He was the Republican senator who a teacher had written into him requesting larger salaries, and he told her basically to shut up, and if she doesn't like her job, she can quit. But he replied all to the entire General Assembly, and was proud of that fact. So I figured all I got to do is pay $200. I can sign up and run, and then for the next 10 months, I have a platform to just espouse libertarian ideals to challenge this Republican at every opportunity. Woohoo! Yes, but so after I had gone to a couple forums locally, I found out that the Democrats and Republicans were both asking me questions offline. They're like, I really support you. I can't publicly because I'm in a party leadership position within my party, but if you need any help, you just let me know. So every now and then I surreptitiously get emails from party leadership like, hey, here's a tip that you might want about this guy. Here's a tip you might want about this guy. So I've had fantastic reception, and even local government officials, mayors and whatnot that I've talked to were like, I will do anything you want, but I can't do it publicly because you're a libertarian. So the party rules of the big parties are preventing anyone from helping me officially, but almost everyone universally supports me. After my county commission meeting last week, one of the county commissioner candidates actually pulled me aside and wanted to talk to me for 2 hours about my positions and realizes he might actually be a libertarian his whole life. So the 3 main facets I've chosen, I actually shot Sean Hawes' advice for this. He said, pick things that you can take to heart and speak on very well. So the things I'm focused on is ABC stores being ended, so I'm glad it's in the party's platform here. There's the fact that you have to buy alcohol from the government. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And personally, I'm a Scotch whiskey drinker, and the selection is horrible at the ABC stores. So I hate having to deal with that. And of course, legalized cannabis. I look at it from a purely economical perspective. We're spending money to defeat a product that has economic benefits. So we're losing money on both ends, on top of the people being incarcerated for it, and whatnot, and then you have the hemp, the recreational, the medicinal. So there's so many reasons that hemp should be legal that it's just impossible to ignore the fact that it has benefits now. And then the last thing is occupational licensing. I live in a relatively new area, and one of the issues is finding contractors to do work because there's so few of them and so many houses are being built. And none of my neighbors realize the reason there's so few contractors is the state limits by occupational licensing who can be a contractor. So it drives up the price artificially for even bad contractors that jump through the government hoops and get the licenses. So those are the kind of three things I'm focusing on, but of course all the school choice education platform I am completely behind and everything like that. So I guess kind of my main point that I make at all my county commissioners and everybody I talk to is the government should stop mothering and start governing. So, thank you.
The next candidate introduced is Brian Lewis, who's running in NC House 11. Brian, you were here a minute ago. Oh, there he is. Okay. Right here. Wake County.
Thank you, everyone.
Can you hear me?
Is that better?
You want to move around, you can take it.
I was noting it was difficult to hear in the back, so I wanted to make sure. So I can actually just put this aside and speak to everybody. Can everybody hear me?
That's good.
All right, wonderful, wonderful.
Great Navy training, right?
There you go. Start to watch right guide. My name's Brian Lewis. I've been involved in my community as a matter of my personal conscience my whole life. My whole conscious life, since the time I was a teenager, before I was even of an age to vote. Something that I strongly believe in, evidence-based decision making. We make a decision not because of how we feel, we make a decision based on the outcome. What are the outcomes that we want? We want people to have better lives. We want people to have the freedom to make decisions that give them the best outcome. In my decades of involvement in government, sitting on committees and boards, you find that you have people who try to taint the decision-making process for their personal gain and not for the community's gain. And what the evidence has led me to is that when people are left alone, better decisions boil to the top. I want less interference in people's decision-making, the decisions they make for themselves, the decisions they make for their families, the decisions they make for their communities. I've gone out and fed people in the streets and been told I was violating a law by feeding people who were hungry. I've come up with ideas that could clean the environment and told, yes, but the regulatory process says you have to do it this way, not your way. I've sat with people discussing how we could balance budgets and still care for people. People go, but no, that wouldn't be right. We can't do that. And what the evidence has brought me down to is to realize that government interferes with a better community. Government interferes with a better society. I stand for election so that in that process that currently exists, where people are presuming the power over individuals, that there's somebody who is an advocate for the individual for the purpose of a better outcome based on evidence, not based on how I feel, not based on, hey, I think the world would be better if we were all free, but because the evidence tells us the world would be better when we're free. I am passionate about wanting people's lives to be better. I'm passionate about the idea. I'm a kid who grew up in an era when I was born, my mother was terrified to have given birth to a son. Because my mother's fear was that her boy was going to grow up and be taken by the government and thrown on a battlefield on the other side of the planet. What kind of life is it that we live in when people's decision-making processes about what's best for themselves and their family involves trying to figure out how to get around government? Government is a way in which we sit down and resolve our conflicts. Backpack budgeting for education, because there is no love greater that a parent has for their child. And yet we've created a system in which we've removed the parent from the decision-making process as to where their child can go to school and be educated and grow and hopefully exceed their parents. Today, if you don't have the currency, a manipulated currency at that, if you don't have that in your hand, the government tells you where to go, and evidence has shown us it's the worst performing places you could send children. You don't have the currency. I want to unleash that and allow that parent the freedom to make the decision to improve their lives, improve their lot in life, improve their children's lives. The decision-making process about the environment. Don't harm me. I won't harm you. But instead, government comes in and it's a process-based regulation. I've sat in committees, I've sat with scientists discussing ways there are phenomenal things which sound like miracles. Those who were at the banquet last night and got to hear Mr. Andrews speak about what can be, would sound like magic. And it's not. It's technology that is bound because of regulation. I want to be at the table to remove those barriers, to be an advocate for the freedom, to be an advocate for the technology, to be an advocate for people and their freedom. I have the experience, I have the knowledge. I'm asking for everyone's vote. I'm asking for everyone's support, not just for myself, but for all of our Libertarian candidates. Because we need to be at a table, even if we disagree with the notion of the table itself. We must be at that table and be advocates for each other. Brian Lewis for North Carolina, House District 11. Thank you.
Okay, next candidate, also from Wake County, David Ulmer, running for NC House 49.
All right. Not a fan of podiums because I'm too tall. So Dave Ulmer, House 49. Two issues I really care about are education and transportation. Everybody's talked about vouchers and what have you. Been a supporter of the Friedman Foundation for Educational Choice. They've done a lot with vouchers and charters. But I think with this issue, the other message we need to point out is it's not going to help just people who are well off. The illustration I would give is you need to let everybody take their portion of their money and go to any school that they want with a voucher or a charter. I have a good friend in North Raleigh who several years ago was unhappy with the school that one of his kids was going to go to. So he sold one $400,000 home, and he and his wife moved into a $600,000 home in another part of northern Wake County. Most people don't have that option. So this really needs to be sent to the communities as, hey, this is how we even the playing field. This is how you can get your kid into a good school, and it's not just a property tax thing or a zoning issue where you can only go to a good school if your parents can relocate their $400,000 or $500,000 home. Everybody should have the same opportunity there. And I think vouchers and charter schools are the only way to do that. Transportation is easy. Rails and roads, I don't think we've done enough to try to get private investment in those areas. Wake County is growing faster than we can keep up with it. Private investment is very important in that area. We've mentioned sometimes, rail hubs to the airport and what have you is something to consider. But with Arnold here last night, it does bring up something that I really think we need to be aware of is technology kind of overruns events sometimes. And, when you see where self-driving vehicles are going and some of the technology improvements and how transportation may just be completely transformed over the next 20 years, I'm hesitant to support a project that won't start for 4 years, won't finish for 8 or 9. And by that time, suddenly half of it doesn't even matter because technology has just blown past the whole issue. So it's very important with transportation. We also get people sometimes a little older and not really looking forward to think about how we can set the legal framework to bring those new technologies to Wake. I don't want subsidies. I don't want to play favorites, but you need to set the legal framework so new ideas are coming to Wake County and Mecklenburg first. So these economic engines in North Carolina are really on the forefront and continue to be on the forefront, and North Carolina continues to grow. Education and transportation attracts business, it's growth, it's positive. It's not about bathrooms. I can't believe that that's an issue. But anyway, I believe if we talk about education and transportation, We can win with those issues if we talk about how they serve everybody in the best interest. Thank you.
Okay, again, another candidate from Wake County, Brad Hessel, running an NC 715. I'm not sure if he's ready.
Yeah, like
You ready?
Greetings. I'm Brad Hessel, Libertarian candidate for State Senate in District 15. That's the northwestern segment of Wake County. And I'll tell you right off, I am not a polished professional politician. The last time I ran for office was freshman year of college, and I didn't win. But the thing is, I've just become so frustrated with the Democrats and the Republicans meddling in our lives and spending our money. On top of that, we have the influence of corporate money in politics affecting political decision making. We have that primarily because we have, over the years, overburdened government with power and responsibility that it was not designed to handle. And I have no illusions that we're going to be able to come in and wave a magic wand and fix the situation instantaneously. It's taken us 100 years digging ourselves into this hole. It's going to take years to at least to climb back out again. But if I am elected, there will be at least one voice in the North Carolina General Assembly that speaks on behalf of you to keep and decide how to spend your own money, and for you to be able to make your own decisions about how to live your own life. So that's my stump speech. Thank you very much. I want to talk a little bit about 2016. Something that Sean said yesterday struck me, which is that there's something special about this year, and I think that the opportunity that we have really is extraordinary. I mean, if you look at what's happening with the establishment parties, you have obviously two of the most incredibly unpopular candidates, or the leading candidates for each of those parties. I'm sure you guys all saw the Monmouth Poll. It was one of the major poll taker organizations did in the last week in March, where they ran a trial heat with Mr. Trump and Secretary Clinton and Gary Johnson as a stand-in for the Libertarians, in which it was something like Clinton 40-ish%, Trump 35-ish%, and Gary Johnson 11%, which is like 11 times more than he got when he ran in 2012. They also did the favorable and unfavorable ratings, and Secretary Clinton's unfavorables have been in the 40s. If she is nominated and that doesn't change, I think it's July is when the conventions are, she would be the most, or the candidate with the worst unfavorable rating ever by either establishment party since they started keeping these numbers, going back to at least 30, 40 years. By a long shot. I mean, no one's ever been above 30, and she's over 40. Except for the fact that the Republican convention is a week before the Democratic convention this year, and if they nominate Donald Trump, his unfavorables are in the 50s. So she'd miss making the all-time record by a week. Yeah, so they did the same rating with Johnson, right? And 76% of the respondents in this Monmouth poll responded, Gary who? They couldn't say whether they were favorable or unfavorable because they didn't know enough about him. So the guy is getting, 11%, even though 3/4 of the people never heard of him. Imagine once they learn the Libertarian candidate is A, sane, and B, anti-establishment, his numbers are likely to go up. So also in '92, somebody mentioned this yesterday as well. '92 was a great year for the LPNC. We set all-time records for the governor's race, and we set the all-time record for the Senate race, which was only just broken by Sean in 2014. That was the year that Ross Perot ran a viable third-party candidacy. So there does appear to be some coattail effect, possibly. If there is a viable third-party candidate, it does help the lower races. So I just want to urge you all, if you do have a candidate who's running locally, please do support that candidate, because there is a good chance we can make some hay here. I'm not necessarily saying we're going to be electing people right and left, but we certainly have an opportunity to raise our profile and to encourage and recruit more people. Also, if there isn't a local candidate where you are, support Sean, support Lon. It's very important we get our 2%. We have two chances to do that. Of course, Lon himself, if he gets 2%, and whoever the presidential candidate turns out to be, that'll be decided next month in Orlando. If that candidate gets 2%, that's probably less likely, because generally speaking, the gubernatorial candidate gets more than the presidential candidate. I think that's always been the case so far. Although maybe this year will be different.
The presidential candidate hadn't faced Hillary and Trump, though.
That's right. So we have an opportunity here. So this is definitely the year to get involved, not just with money, volunteering. There's I know Ray was talking about organizing his precinct. I mean, there's a lot that can be done, especially where we have candidates and we can work on that. Sean is planning a major volunteer operation. The LPNC also will be working on trying to identify those folks. So this is really, this is a good year, folks, to really make more of an effort than usual. Okay, that's what I have to say. Thanks.
'16 is going to be a year where it will be no longer a choice of voting for the lesser of two evils. Want to throw that out. Okay, we have other candidates running in Wake County. I don't see Susan Hogarth here. Rob Rose is also running in Wake County, and I'm running for NC House 11, but 36, but I'm not going to do my stump speech. Last but not least, we have Barbara Howe, who's no stranger to running for office. She's running for NC Senate 20.
Can y'all hear me? Yeah. Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Back there?
Okay.
I'll talk loud. I'm good at talking loudly. Hi, Libertarians! Hey! I'm not giving a stump speech because I hate them. and I'm an extrovert, so kind of I feed off the crowd, and I really couldn't give my Granville County stump speech to all you fine Libertarian people. So I just wanted to, and everybody kept trying to steal my thunder because I came up here with a chat, and I'm giving it to Lon Cecil. About twice as much as I had to give the IRS last week.
I had said almost as much as in the state of North Carolina.
So,
I heard worse than the IRS.
But I'm challenging each and every one of you to get out your checkbook right now, or later today, or when you go home, if you didn't bring it this weekend, to give Lon Cecil some money.
There are tokens.
Because he's going to give you a poker chip.
Yeah, PayPal. I do.
I've done this job. I've done this job 3 times. I want Lon to succeed because it's quite a chore. And I'm happy that he's out there stumping for us and making sure that everybody in North Carolina has a Libertarian choice for governor. And Sean for Senate, and whoever our presidential candidate may be. I'm running for NC House District 20, NC Senate, sorry, NC Senate District 20. If I'm not mistaken, am I the only two-way race?
Nick's also
Nick's
two-way,
is also
and
two-way.
Olin Watson is two-way
Okay.
away.
I'm in a two-way race, but with a very popular guy, a very entrenched guy,
Entrenched.
guy, Floyd McKissick Jr., whose father, Floyd McKissick Sr., built Soul City, which was a miserable failure. I'm all of Granville County and Floyd McKissick's house in Durham. That's all I can figure out how that county was drawn. So I'll be out. My website's not really ready for prime time. That's my Facebook page, and I hate that picture. I gotta keep it there. But I'm going to do everything I can to support Lon's campaign because we have to get that 2%. I remember 4 years ago sitting in this very hotel, biting my fingernails as we were hovering right around 2.1% and saying, oh God, if it's 1.99%, I'm going to scream. So we got to get that 2% so we stay viable in North Carolina, so we live to work for 2020. So that's it. Everybody get behind Lon, get behind our presidential candidate, get behind Sean because that effect will support the statewide candidates too. And let's go for 2016.
Any other candidate out there that I may have missed? Oh, good. Okay. The agenda calls for us to move to business, but there's no objection. I'm gonna let's take about a 10-minute recess. Yes.